She pointed at me and yelled, "Officer, arrest him right now!" Before I could even shut my garage door, the red and blue lights were already flashing, and Karen stood there smiling like she'd won. She waved a stack of papers in the air and said I was trespassing, said this whole street was HOA land, said I was dangerous. My kid was behind me holding my leg, shaking, and Karen didn't care. She leaned closer and whispered, "You people never listen until cops show up." One officer looked confused, the other looked bored. Karen jumped in fast, talking over everyone. "You said I ignored HOA fines, said my car didn't belong here, said my wife forged documents to live in this neighborhood." Then she pointed at my wife had laughed. "Ask her for ID," she said. "She lies for him." My wife stayed quiet, calm, in a way that didn't match the moment. I knew that calm. It wasn't fear, it was patience. Karen stepped closer to the officers and lowered her voice like she was doing them a favor. "I already called my HOA security," she said. "They'll back me up." That's when one officer finally asked, "Ma'am, do you actually run this HOA?" Karen froze for half a second, then snapped back, "I practically do." She turned to my wife again. "Go on, show them your fake badge." My wife slowly reached into her purse, not rushed, not nervous. Karen rolled her eyes and smirked like this was the best part. The card came out, solid and dark, catching the police lights. The moment the officer saw the seal, his posture changed. Karen leaned forward to look, and her face went pale. My wife said quietly, "Before you say anything else, you might want to read that." The officer took the card with both hands, not like before. His jaw tightened as he read it. Then he looked at my wife again, slower, this time. Karen noticed the shift and laughed nervously. "What, is that supposed to scare us?" she said, but her voice cracked at the end. The second officer leaned in, saw the same thing, and stepped back like he'd crossed a line without knowing it. Karen snapped her fingers. "Hello! Arrest him! That ID is fake! My cousin works for the city. I know how this stuff looks." She turned to me and smirked again. "You're done here." But the officer didn't move. Instead, he handed the card back and asked my wife, "Ma'am, do you want us to secure the area?" That word secure hit Karen hard. Her smile vanished. My wife nodded once. "Yes, and I need a report." Started. Karen's head jerked up. "A report for what?" she snapped. My wife didn't answer her. She looked at the officers and said, "False police report, harassment, and unlawful detention." Karen laughed too loud. "Detention? He's standing right there." She didn't notice the officer gently guiding my kid away from the driveway. Then Karen's phone rang. She answered it fast, loud on purpose. "Yes, HOA security is on the way," she said, staring straight at us. "They'll explain everything." She hung up and crossed her arms. "Is he back up?" My wife finally looked at her. Just one look. Calm, cold. That's not the backup you think it is. A black SUV turned onto the street, slow and heavy, windows dark. Karen's confidence came back for a second. She smiled again. "Told you," she said. The SUV stopped right behind the police cars, and the plates were federal. The SUV doors opened at the same time. Not rushed, not loud. Two men stepped out, suits under their jackets, eyes already scanning the street. Karen's smile locked in place, like her face forgot how to move. "Finally," she said, clapping once. "You're late. These people are refusing to leave." One of the men didn't even look at her. He walked straight to my wife. "Ma'am," he said quietly, "we got your ping." My wife nodded and took a step forward. Karen blinked. "Excuse me, who are you people?" She walked closer, waving her HOA papers again. "This is a private matter. HOA business." The second man finally looked at her. His stare wasn't angry. It was disappointed. "Ma'am, step back," Karen scoffed. "Or what?" The man pulled out his badge, just enough for her to see. No speech, no threat, just the badge. Karen's mouth opened, then closed. She laughed again, softer this time. "This is insane," she muttered. "All this over a simple rule violation." My wife spoke, still calm. "You locked us out of our home yesterday? You towed our car? You called police and said I forged federal ID." The officers exchanged looks. One of them started writing fast. Karen raised her hands like she was the victim now. "I was protecting the neighborhood," she said. "People like them bring problems." The words hung in the air. Nobody backed her up. The man in the suit asked her, "Do you want to repeat that on record?" Karen swallowed hard. Then one of the suits turned to me. "Sir," he said, "do you own this property?" I nodded. "Since 2016. He looked at the papers Karen dropped on the ground. "And the HOA," I said, "doesn't exist anymore." Karen snapped. "That's a lie." My wife exhaled slowly. "No," she said. "That's the part you never checked." Karen took a step back. Right as handcuffs clicked behind her, Karen spun around. "You can't do this," she shouted, trying to pull her hands free. "I run this place." One of the officers held her steady, calm but firm. "Ma'am, you're being detained," he said. That word hit her harder than the cuffs. Detained. Her voice went sharp. "For what?" Enforcing rules? My wife finally raised her voice just enough to carry. You enforced nothing, she said. You impersonated authority. You filed a false report, and you targeted my family. Karen laughed again, but there was panic under it now. This is some setup, she said, looking around for help. No one stepped forward. Curtains across the street moved. Phones were up. One of the suited men opened a tablet and turned it toward the officers. Here's the footage, he said. From yesterday. And the week before. The video showed Karen ordering the tow, blocking our driveway, yelling at my kid to stay off private property. Karen's face drained as she watched herself. That's edited, she whispered. That's illegal. The man shook his head. It's security footage. From their property. The officer paused the video. You told dispatch you feared for your safety, he said. But you're the one approaching them. Karen's knees buckled a little. I was threatened, she said weakly. My wife stepped closer. By a family unloading groceries. Karen's phone buzzed again. She looked at it like it might save her. My HOA lawyer is calling, she said. The officer replied. You can call them after processing. Her eyes widened. Processing. That word landed heavy. As she was guided toward the cruiser, she screamed over her shoulder. You don't belong here. My wife answered quietly, the words cutting clean. We belong everywhere, the law says we do. The cruiser door closed. But the story wasn't done yet. The street went quiet after the door shut, but the tension stayed. One officer stayed back with us while the others moved away. Karen was still yelling from inside the car, voice muffled now, angry and desperate. Then the officer looked at me and said, Sir, there's more you should know. He nodded toward the suited men. One of them stepped closer and lowered his voice. This isn't the first complaint about her, he said. She's been using that HOA name for years. I felt my stomach drop. My wife didn't look surprised. She's been collecting fines, she said. Towing cars. Threatening families. The man nodded. Mostly immigrants. Older couples. People who won't fight back. Across the street, a woman slowly walked over, then another. One of them pointed at the cruiser and said, Is she finally gone? Her voice shook. Karen banged on the window when she saw them. Don't talk to them, she screamed. You'll regret it. The officer shut the door harder. The first neighbor swallowed and spoke fast, like she'd been holding it in for years. She took my husband's truck. Said we owed $10,000. Another man said, She told us our deed was fake. Each sentence added weight. My kid squeezed my hand. I realized this was bigger than us. The suited man looked at my wife. We're opening a full case, he said. Fraud, extortion, civil rights violations. Karen went silent in the back seat when she heard that. No yelling, no insults, just staring straight ahead. My wife watched her for a moment, then turned to the neighbors. You're safe to speak now, she said. She doesn't have power anymore, one of them whispered. We thought she owned the law. My wife answered, calm but firm, a line that stuck in the air. People who fake power always panic. When real authority shows up, by morning, the fake HOA office was sealed. The signs came down, the tow company showed up on its own, returning cars without saying a word. Karen's name was already spreading through the neighborhood, but not the way she wanted. Fraud, false reports, impersonation, every charge tied back to one thing. She thought nobody would ever check. A few days later, my wife came home quiet. She hugged our kid first, then looked at me and nodded. She pled. She said, no trial. Karen had lost everything she used to scare people. Fonts returned, records corrected. Families who'd lived in fear were suddenly breathing again. One evening, the same neighbors came over with food. No speeches. Just thanks, one man said. She told us we had no rights. My wife smiled softly. Everyone has rights, she said. Some people just lie louder. As for us, we parked our car in the driveway again. No notices, no threats, just peace. I looked at the house, the land, my family standing safe on it, and felt something settle in my chest. Karen wanted power. Without law, she forgot one thing. In this country, fake authority always loses to the real thing.